we know and what do we have so far?
Yes, that's right, Sean. Vaccine Czar Secretary Carlito Galvez said that their target to vaccinate 50 to 70 million Filipinos might likely to stretch until 2022, first or second quarter of that year, depending on the supplies that will be provided by the manufacturers. During the Senate hearing on vaccines, Health Secretary Francisco Duque III has assured senators that the immunization program will begin this February and that healthcare workers will be prioritized. Senator Ping Lacson is not satisfied with the government's target, citing the slow movement in the approval of negotiation papers. Galvez has clarified that by February 20, the vaccines may be delivered in the country and inoculation may start by third to fourth week of the month. Galvez also notes that 80% of the global supply of vaccine has already been pre-procured by rich countries and the remaining 18% will be shared by other countries, including the Philippines. The vaccine czar has assured the Senate that the government will be able to procure 148 million doses of vaccines from 7 pharmaceutical companies this year. The Covovax facility will also give the Philippines fully subsidized vaccines from Pfizer and Moderna, which will benefit 22 million Filipinos. Galvez said that they have secured 30 million doses from Novavax and can reach up to 100 million doses from other vaccine developers. Sean?
All right, and how does this all tie in with LGUs procuring their own vaccines for their constituents and a lot of them signing up with AstraZeneca? We all know it has to be a G2G or government-to-government deal. How does everything tie in this national vaccine plan?
Actually, DOH Secretary Duque clarified, and also FDA Dr. Domingo also clarified that they're actually allowing procurement from LGUs and private companies. However, that will be a tripartite procurement, which means they will also undergo the screening of the national government because it can still be commercially supplied since what they have right now is still the EUA. So they all have to go through the national government, and national government will be deciding which vaccines will be coming in from the different pharmaceutical companies, Sean.
All right, one last question, Mean. What about cold storage? That seems to be the chink in the logistical armor here in the Philippines. Any update about that?
The DOH is actually preparing for the cold storage. I think the latest that we got from Secretary Duque is that we already have the cold storage for -2 until up to -8 degrees centigrade for those kinds of vaccines. But lower than that, we still don't have, and they're still looking for suppliers for those kinds of cold storage that will be needed for other vaccines. Sean?
Thank you so much for all those updates, Man Los Baños, joining us live from Mandaluyong City today. A public health advocate is urging the government to opt for vaccines from AstraZeneca instead of Sinovac. Dr. Tony Leachon tells Agenda that local government units prefer shots from the British manufacturer to the Chinese one. Several LGUs, including San Juan City, Valenzuela City, and the city of Caloocan, have earmarked funds to procure jabs from AstraZeneca.
Yung aking tingin, Sito, I would have abandoned it or reduced it. And then, ang bilhin ko na lang yung Astra kung value for money ang pag-uusapan. Tapos pataas-taas pa yung efficacy rate.
We're going to pause for a quick break, but we will be back with more stories after that. Stay with us. are still watching One News Now. I'm Sean Yao. More LGUs have announced their plans to procure shots from AstraZeneca. This is despite the national government's preference for China's Sinovac. To give us an update on that, Greg Gregorio joins us live. Hi, Greg. Again, let's go through which LGUs have inked deals with AstraZeneca so far.
Sean, at least 10 local government units announced their procurement deals with the COVID-19 vaccine manufacturer AstraZeneca. The city of Manila closed a deal today for 800,000 doses of COVID-19 vaccine from the British-Swedish company as part of its 250 million peso vaccination program. Moreno has also signed deals today for the procurement of 12 refrigeration units and 50 units of portable coolers, which will serve as cold storage facilities for the vaccines. The city of Valenzuela, meanwhile, has ordered 640,000 doses of COVID-19 vaccines for 320,000 individuals in the city. According to Mayor Rex Gatchalian, the number is equivalent to 70% of the city's population as they aim for herd immunity. Other LGUs who have secured vaccine supply from AstraZeneca are cities of San Juan, Caloocan, Makati, Iloilo, Baguio, Ormoc, Pasig, and the latest is Muntinlupa City. Why AstraZeneca, you ask? This is what the mayors had to say.
It has to be done now. We cannot do it, better to have it now para pagdating ng
Sean, the LGUs also pointed out that they also consider buying from other manufacturers once the same framework is available. As for AstraZeneca, its application for emergency use authorization with the Food and Drug Administration is still pending, along with the application of Pfizer and the complete submission of Russia's Gamaleya. Sean?
In terms of timeline, Greg, when are we expecting these vaccines to be rolled out at the soonest? Is there some sort of rough estimate?
Sean, according to Valenzuela City Mayor Rex Gatchalian, the expectation or the estimate for the arrival of AstraZeneca's vaccine in the country is by the second half of 2021. Sean?
All right, for sure. Gotta get the authorizations first and all the other logistical obstacles. Thank you so much for that update, Greg Gregorio, reporting to us live. And Malacanang confirms the government inked a deal for 30 million doses of COVID-19 shot Covovax. Let's get the details from Maricel Halili, who joins us live also from Mandaluyong City. Hi, Mase. Did the spokesman Harry Roque provide a timetable for the procurement?
Yes, Sean, presidential spokesperson Harry Roque announced during his press briefing earlier that the target of the government is for the Covovax to be procured around third quarter of this year. They expect that around 30 million doses will be provided to the Philippines, and they have already signed the agreement, although they're still waiting for the EUA to be provided. So that's one of the procedures that need to be polished.
February 12.
All right, what did the distributor of Covovax have to say? Are there any details that you have on hand regarding their emergency use authorization application update, or where they are at the process?
Yes, earlier during the press briefing, Dr. Luningning, the representative of SII or the representative of Covovax in the agreement mentioned that they are still waiting for the EUA to be provided coming from the UK. But mentioned, Sean, I think it's also good to take note that aside from Covovax, Malacanang also announced that Sinovac, the vaccine from China, will be available in the country come February or next month. This assurance came from presidential spokesperson Harry Roque himself. He announced that around 50,000 doses are expected come February, plus another 15,000, which is part of the vaccine trial. So a total of 65,000 by February is expected to be procured or probably donated from China, particularly Sinovac vaccines.
All right, so having said that, just going on a tangent from what you said, how is the EUA application of Sinovac going?
Well, that's one of the issues here, Sean. Secretary Roque mentioned that, of course, about 21 days is expected for the whole procedure of the EUA application is expected. But, of course, they will not allow the usage of Sinovac unless there's already an EUA. So he believes that the process is still ongoing, but he still has to get an update from the FDA about the status of the EUA application.
All right, now for his part, how did spokesman Harry Roque react to allegations that Duterte favors these two China-made shots over the Western-made ones?
Secretary Roque denies that allegation, saying that it is very evident that the efficacy of Sinovac or other Chinese vaccine is pretty high right now. If we based it from the studies made by Turkey and Indonesia, around 91.25% is now the efficacy rate of Sinovac, so it's pretty high. And aside from that, he also explained that the availability of a vaccine is limited, very limited to our country. And the first available vaccine is Sinovac. That's why that's the first vaccine that we are going to procure. It's sad that vaccines coming from the Western country are not readily available for the first quarter of this year because rich countries have already procured those Western countries, given the fact that they already provided funds for the production of the Western vaccines, including Pfizer.
Right. Masay asked this question earlier when I was talking to Mean, who was monitoring what's going on in the Senate. Is there any update from the palace regarding cold chain storage for these Western vaccines, which need storage of very, very cold temperatures?
Actually, Sean, that's one of the advantages mentioned by Secretary Roque, considering that we already signed the agreement between the national government and the manufacturers of Covovax. According to Secretary Roque, it is much easier to store Covovax in the country because it only requires 2 to 8 degrees temperature, which is readily available in the country, compared to Pfizer, which requires at least negative 70 degrees when it comes to cold storage. So it will be much difficult to store those kinds of vaccines. So we actually prioritize those vaccines which we can store right now. And of course, we expect vaccines from the Western countries to be distributed in the Philippines come second or third quarter this year. And by that time, or the span of time will be used for the preparation of these kind of storage for the Western vaccines.
All right, thank you so much for that. Maricel Halili joining us live from Mandaluyong City. For more updates, visit News 5, The Philippine Star, and Business World online. Visit our website, onenews.ph, for more in-depth analysis. You can also catch One News on the Signal Play app. Register for a free account at www.signalplay.com and stream One News live anytime, anywhere. I'm Sean Yao. We are One News.